Look what I got in the mail just before I started. I'm so excited about this. We don't need this in the frame. I just got Abyssal vacuum. It's like the wet, dry vacuum. So I can mop my floors like regularly. Not really mop, but just kind of clean them up. Because with the dogs, it gets so dusty in here. We have no grass in our yard. It's all just dirt right now. I mean, that's not completely true. There's technically patches of grass, but the dogs will lay in the dirt and then come in and run around, and it just gets so dusty all of the time. So yeah, I got that new vacuum. Very exciting. I went with the wireless one. Is that what it's called? Rechargeable one, so that I can just run around the house and do it. Because I figured if it's taking me more than the time of battery life to wipe up the floors, I probably have a different issue. So I went with the rechargeable one. And I figured if I don't like it, I'll just return it and get the wired one. But yeah, so far so good. I'm really excited to mop now after this. That's exactly what I'm going to do right after this. You would think I'm Bethany right now. She's obsessed with floor cleaning in any capacity. But here we are. I guess that's just what happens when you have a house. Anyways, welcome back to Floor Time. This is going to be episode 2. Thanks for watching and listening to episode 1. Thanks for caring. Let's see. I have some notes for what we're going to talk about today. So I'll get started. And thanks for caring. I have some notes here. We're going to talk about some random stuff today, which is essentially the subtitle of this podcast. First, I'm just going to talk about my week. So I recorded the first episode of this on Thursday, and that consumed my entire day. I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know if I expected it to take the whole day, but it totally did, which is fine. It's really nice to have little things to focus on other than work sometimes. I get into these bursts of I need to do a project. So that's when I painted the sunroom. That's when I painted our master bathroom. And I guess now the podcast is my own little distraction. Not distraction, but like creative outlet. Maybe it's because I have a creative job as a wedding photographer now, and I need something else to work on. And it's also kind of the word lonely is not accurate. It's not a lonely job, but it's isolated during the week. So unless I'm at a wedding or a shoot, I'm just editing at home. Justin's here. He's editing as well, which is great. I'm really thankful that we both work from home. But yeah, if I don't have plans or work, then I'm just here. And so I think the routine of just being on my laptop and doing admin work or editing work gets a little monotonous. And so having little projects like this to pour my energy into is really nice. So yeah, Thursday I did this. I also recorded reels. Was that Thursday? I think it was Thursday. I also recorded reels just to post on my photography account, just to share like things I've learned over the years of shooting weddings, things that I think are helpful to brides and grooms, and also that way people can find me on Instagram in a different way, because posting reels of your wedding photos, it's not always productive. Like, it's fun to share different weddings, but I never post reels anymore because it's like you either do a slideshow of it, or you have to talk about it, or you have to do something, or you have to have like a really good BTS clip to start the reel and then show the results. And I am so busy at weddings and shoots, I just forget to take BTS. So anyways, this is kind of my new way of marketing our business and just sharing some expertise, sharing opinions, and yeah, we'll see where that goes. So on Friday, I made some more reels, I believe, because I was kind of just in the groove of like, I already have the setup. I've now learned how to edit the videos, sort of. So I should just do another batch. So that's what I did on Friday. Speaking of editing videos and making videos, oh my gosh, my opinion was already that videography is the worst and that photography is way easier, way better. There's less gear, there's less complications editing. But if this podcast has taught me anything in the one episode that I've done so far, it is that videography is the worst. Thankfully, I have Justin helping me. He was like, if you were doing this on your own, do you think you would be doing it this way? And I'm like, absolutely not. If I were doing this on my own, I would be editing an iMovie. And he laughed with a painful laugh because he knew that it was true. So anyway, thankfully I have Justin helping me to do things correctly. But props to my videographers out there. I don't know how Justin figured all this out. I know it was a process, like he's been doing this for a long time, but oh my word, there's so many little things. And then even when I was editing the first episode, I would run into problems that he would have to like Google really quick. And I'm like, dude, you do this all of the time. He's really good at troubleshooting. I am not that kind of way. I am really defeatist when it comes to problems. Like if a problem comes up and I can't figure it out pretty quickly, I usually want to just trash it. So toxic trait. Saturday, we shot a wedding. I'm always so nervous before weddings. It is rare that I am on my way to a wedding and I'm just like, this is gonna be a great day. That's not really what happens. I get really anxious, especially if there's been a gap. This time I'm just doing wedding after wedding after wedding. If there's been a gap of a few weeks between weddings or shoots, I am like, oh no, am I going to take good pictures? Am I going to know how to do this? And I know I will, but I get nervous before every wedding. And Justin always has to talk me down. Now I say all this and it's always been fine. I always find the good light and I always take nice pictures, but it does make me nervous. And on that note, I'll probably talk about this in a reel, but I've been seeing videos of brides saying like, here are questions you should ask your photographer. And one of them is usually, have you shot at our venue before? That literally does not matter. So many weddings, I have never been to the venue before, and it does not matter. Even if you have been to the venue before, if it's a different time of year, the sun could be hitting in different spots, the weather could be different. Depending on the setup for each wedding, it could be different. There could be different obstacles that you can't shoot in certain areas. So it really triggers me seeing people be like, oh, ask your photographer if they've shot at your venue before. And I'm like, it's really not consequential. Even if I've shot at a venue before, I'm still making sure that lighting is good and the spots are good. So yeah, I just hate that. Anyway, Sunday we had church, and then after church we were gonna go to Costco potentially, but we didn't really feel like it, so we didn't. We came home, and I don't remember what we did. I think I took a nap. I think I took like a really long nap. Sundays are often nap days for me, and sometimes it's because Justin is like, hey, you really need to take a nap. And in the past, there have been times when he's literally taken my phone. He doesn't really do that now. But if I don't take a nap, I get really emotional sometimes. So Sunday was nap time. And then Monday came around. I usually take Mondays really slow because of weddings on weekends. So especially if I have a double header, I will take Monday completely off. But if I have a Saturday wedding, I will still try to take Monday off because Sundays are just full with church and coming back. And, you know, it wasn't as restful in the morning. So Mondays are just usually a rest day for me. Monday, I think I just edited videos and stuff. And then yesterday, I went to just a normal doctor's appointment because you're supposed to do that every year, which is annoying, but I get it. It's fine. The main reason I was actually going was because my right eye has some issues that I've dealt with previously. They popped up again earlier this year, and I just want to go see my ophthalmologist and make sure it's all good. However, our new insurance, well, it's not even our new insurance, it's just our insurance. I need a referral now to do that. I was told by the person at the ophthalmology office to get an appointment with my primary care, get a referral, and I'd be good to go. Now, this was 6 months ago. Actually, yeah, this was like 6 or 7 months ago. And I was just busy. I needed to establish a primary care doctor. I needed to request something from insurance to switch the person. And then I thought that got done because I was having so many issues with the online thing. Justin was like, oh, I think I need to do it. So then he did it and he said, oh, okay, it worked. Well, then I thought I was going to be going to this one doctor. I go back on the portal like months later because I put it off. And it was still the original doctor and I didn't want to go see that doctor. So then I had to re-request to switch it, blah, blah, blah. It was very annoying. I cried about it. And I know I could have done this months ago, but I thought I had time. And then all of a sudden, the appointment came. The appointment was like for 6 months out. And I was so discouraged originally because I really wanted to be able to see this doctor and make sure my eye was fine. And then they canceled my appointment and moved it again. So then I thought I had even more time. Anyway, I finally had this appointment and I go and see this doctor. And she was really nice. The clinic was really interesting. It was this tiny, tiny clinic. I was the only patient there when I went. And they were all lovely. it was just so unlike any other doctor's office experience I've had. So I go, she's asking me all the normal questions. They take my vitals. They ask me why I'm there. I'm like, oh, I just need a referral. Well, then she is palpating my neck for my glands and lymph nodes and stuff. And all of a sudden she goes, okay, you have an enlarged thyroid. Go ahead and lay back. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? She just kind of moved past it. She's like, yeah, we'll need to get you an ultrasound for that. And then she starts continuing on. And I was like, going back to that, what? And apparently I have a goiter. That's what it's called. Isn't that horrendous? I hate that word so much. All day yesterday I was talking about that word in all of the group chats, making it my entire personality. I've decided that my new name is Goiter Girl. I don't know why I have it yet. So I did blood work this morning, and then I have to get an ultrasound. I'm waiting for radiology to call me so that I could get into the radiology appointment thing. And it could be nothing, or it could be something. It's probably not that big of a deal. She actually was like asking me all different questions about I didn't have really any other symptoms of anything like bad associated with enlarged thyroids. So she said, it's probably nothing. It's probably just small nodules on your thyroid, but we'll check it out and make sure it's fine. And she said she sees a lot of people here in the mountains that have enlarged thyroids for no reason. And then I started wondering, because you can't even see it. Like some enlarged thyroids, if you Google it, they're like bulging. Mine is not. She only felt it during, like when she palpated and had me swallow. And so part of me is like, maybe you just think you're feeling all these enlarged thyroids and it's just normal thyroids. Not actually, I don't really think that, but I'm wondering if it's like barely enlarged. And then also I'm wondering if like it's not actually nothing and people are just walking around with like hypothyroidism without knowing it, which from what I understand is actually pretty common, just having hypothyroidism. And especially for females, it's a lot more like when you look up hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's or different thyroid disorders, one of the risk factors, it will just be like the first bullet point is being female. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that was exciting. It's exciting to have a new identity as Goiter Girl. It just makes me think of the guy in Tangled who says, in my goiter and my nose. So yeah, I hate that word. In other completely unimportant news, Instagram changed its layout for me. I was talking to somebody yesterday and they said it didn't change for them. And I said, you're lucky, because now mine is like, you can swipe over to Reels and swipe to messages. And what's the next thing that swipes to? Oops. Yeah, so if you're on the homepage, you swipe over to Reels and then you swipe to messages and then you swipe to search and then you swipe to your profile. I don't want to swipe to Reels. This update is probably only good for people who are on Reels and not on TikTok. So if that's you, congrats, I guess. But they also moved the post button, which is really annoying. Okay, moving on from that. I wanted to just talk about the year, things that happened this year, highlights of the year, because it's already November, which is insane. And we say this every single year, but it's crazy that it's already November. So I wanted to talk about things that I got to do this year. The year started out in January, as it always does, with California burning down. And during that time, I actually went to Nashville to visit Sam, and I went with Remy and Vanessa, and we had our little reunion, and it was so lovely. It snowed while we were there. In fact, not only was California burning down, but there was this big snowstorm going through Texas into Tennessee, and Vanessa ended up having to leave early from Texas to get over there so that her flights wouldn't be canceled. My flight was going to be canceled, and I was able to like either reroute. I think I changed from Burbank to LAX is what it was. And so instead of having a layover in DFW, I was able to go direct. So that was great. I don't know why I'm sharing all that detail, but you're welcome. So that's the first thing I really did this year was go to Nashville, and that was so much fun. We were all catching up. We've stayed in touch from college, and one of the things that we did to help us catch up was somebody, I think it was Sam, brought up the acronym PIES, which is like physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual. And so you just go through each letter and talk about those aspects of your life. But we decided to make our own acronym. One of the words we use a lot as a friend group is ruckus. Specifically, Remy uses it a lot. She loves to say, let's cause some ruckus. And so we created an acronym for the word ruckus, and it is relationships underneath. It's all very silly. Well, it's all very, it's quite a combination of like silly and serious. So it's relationships underneath, crap, kitchen. I always forget the other U. What is the other U? Relationships underneath, crap, kitchen. Oh, the next U is the next U is uncertainties. Or maybe it's relationships, uncertainties. It doesn't really matter. Relationships, uncertainties, crap, kitchen, underneath, and silly. And it actually encompasses quite a bit of your life, which is really fun. So we've been trying to every month send our ruckus. So we either will send it on a voice memo or Marco Polo or something and update the group. We've been lagging for the last couple months. So I need to send my ruckus for November. But that's just kind of a fun thing you could do with your friends if you need ways to like organize everything you need to catch up on, especially for your long distance friends. It's so hard sometimes being like, where do I even start to talk about my life? So we've enjoyed having an acronym. You can make your own. Let me know if you do. So that kicked off January. And then our first wedding of the year was in February. It was at the O Yacht in downtown Los Angeles, which is so cool. Like it's vintage, like actually vintage Art Deco, gorgeous architecture and decor inside. And then the outside is this rooftop terrace in the middle of the city. Really cool spot for a ceremony. So that was our first wedding of the year. And then March we moved. And that was all pretty crazy. In January, we did a day where we went up to some snow in the mountains. And it was kind of after that we started more looking at Zillow. So March, we actually moved into our house. And again, just kicked off even more of the wedding season come April. And then one of the next highlights of the year was summertime beginning, really Memorial Day weekend here in the mountains in our community. It's just so fun having people come up the mountain because it's so much cooler than down the hill. So everybody will come up, go to the lake. There's like an inflatable obstacle course at the lake during the summer. And so Justin and I did that twice. Very humbling, by the way. I knew it was going to be hard, but I didn't know just balancing was going to be difficult. I did a lot of paddleboarding this summer. That was one of my things that I really wanted to try, but I was a little nervous too. But I'm trying to get better at trying new things. Look at me go. I did paddleboarding. I got better at paddleboarding. The first time I did it, my feet were so sore because I was using them to balance, but you really should be using like your quads and your core to balance. So my feet got really, really sore. And I got back to the car and my legs were shaking. But I got way better at it over the summer, which was really cool. It's not that hard. It's just I am really afraid of starting new things. So getting better at the new thing was really fun. July was pretty full. We kicked it off with 4th of July. We had some friends from church over. Justin's birthday is the 3rd, Nellie's is the 6th, and Olivia's is the 12th. So there's so many birthdays in July. And then we also did Nellie's bridal shower, I think the day after 4th of July. So it was a busy start of the month. And then I had one July wedding, which was such a blessing because it's so hot during July. And I didn't want to be sweating my entire existence of that month. So did one wedding. And then August was also crazy. August we did... among weddings, we did Nellie's bachelorette here, which was so fun. We did a Parent Trap theme. So I made a big sign that said Camp Bar, and we had Parent Trap decor, which was really just camping supplies everywhere. We put luggage and furniture on the roof so that it was like that scene with the Camp Wars and the pranks and stuff. We had Evian bottles, we had Oreos and peanut butter, strawberries, among like normal snacks. We tried to do some like themed food. We did chili for dinner. Everyone dressed inspired by Parent Trap or the 90s, which was really fun. Nellie came as Hallie, she was spot on. It was insane. And we made her wear a white top hat with a veil, just like the photo shoot scene. We went on a boat. What else did we do? Oh, we went on a little hike. We kept it very Nellie outdoorsy, but also still chill. So it was really fun. And then after that, I took Olivia across the country in her car. We drove together to get her to college with her car because this year she's student teaching and she goes to school on the East Coast. So she needed to drive that thing over there. So we started at my house and then we just drove for I think 4 or 5 days. I think it was 4. And And really, I confirmed what I already knew, which is the west side of the United States is way better than that side. No offense to Midwest, but it was so boring to drive through. At least in the West, we have rocks and geology and like interesting landscapes to look at. Once we passed through Denver, it was the same until we got to truly the East Coast. So yeah, sorry to the Midwest, but I have beef with you. Not only is it really boring to drive through, but you have tornadoes, and I hate that. Yeah, so after that road trip, then Nellie and I did a separate road trip to Albuquerque to get Forrest because we, like I said in episode 1, we adopted him from Rex's Animal Rescue in Texas, which Vanessa was running with Alyssa, her vet tech. But we needed to meet halfway. Like, we weren't going to drive all the way to Texas. I didn't want to make them drive all the way here, and they couldn't find transport for him to come all the way here. So we just met in the middle. We met in Albuquerque, and dude, I am so done with driving. So yeah, those were some of the highlights of the year. One thing I want to talk about that's been on my mind a lot lately is what happens when you own a house. So when we bought the house, there's quirks about it. There's quirks that we'll point out to people or quirks that are just very obvious, but they're kind of fun little anecdotal things like, oh, look at this weird door frame, or our stairs are really strange. Instead of a banister, it's just open, which is definitely not up to code. That was called out in the inspection. But there's also this corner of the top floor that juts out, and it's just such a hazard. Justin's hit his head on it once. I've never hit my head on it. Hopefully I never do, but odds are I will at some point. But there's weird things. And something I've noticed is that people love to give unsolicited advice about your house. And unfortunately, I'm sure I do this too. And maybe that's why I notice it more, because I think the same things and sometimes I'll say them. But I'm really tired of it, and I'm really trying to not give unsolicited advice about household things. I shouldn't give unsolicited advice in general, but anyway. But I've noticed this from owning a house, from wanting to redo some things in the house, just like showing people the house, and then also on TikTok, because now I'm getting so many house renovation TikTok stuff. Like, I'll get either renovations or restoring old houses. There's some really cool houses out there that people are restoring and bringing back from like the millennial gray or the bad flip, and they're restoring the old features of the house, which I love. But here's one of my biggest pet peeves right now. If somebody owns their house, they can do whatever they want, and it is not a crime for them to want to get rid of wood or to paint wood or to make something gray. It is literally their house. Stop telling them it's such a terrible thing. I understand the desire to like keep the integrity, to appreciate the art and the craft that, you know, maybe that banister or those wood floors were. But at the end of the day, it's their house. They bought it with their money. So stop getting so up in arms about people wanting to change something about their house. All the comments on TikTok are like, oh my gosh, don't change a thing. Don't get rid of the pink tile. Don't get rid of this or that. Don't paint the cabinets. Don't. I'm like, dude, you can buy your own house and keep it original. And you're allowed to do that. And again, I think some original features of old houses are really cool. But if that's not your thing, it's not your thing. If you want to keep a house the way it is, you can buy the house and you can keep it the way it is. But if somebody spent their hard-earned money on it, let them do what they want. That's my rant. I posted another question box, and this one was pretty general, just asking for questions, things I should talk about, maybe some silly things that you would like to share. So I'm going to go through those submissions now. The first question was, what brings you joy? My dogs bring me joy. Coffee brings me joy. Obviously, Jesus brings me joy. But if we're talking like little joys, my plants bring me joy. The sunlight going through the trees brings me joy. The changing leaves brings me joy. The lake brings me joy. Paddleboarding brings me joy. Ooh, after a wedding, especially a long day, showering, getting in bed, and scrolling brings me joy. Because I really struggle to like bring my brain down from all of the energy and the chaos that is a wedding day. So sometimes if I just go straight to bed, my mind is still replaying the whole day. I'm thinking about the shots I got. I'm thinking about the schedule. I'm thinking about what happened. And it's not bad mulling over. It's just my brain is going. So I love getting clean, laying in bed with my dogs, maybe, particularly Pfeiffer, because Forrest is quite squirmy still, and just doom scrolling for a while. And dude, I love TikTok. TikTok also brings me joy. If you're not on TikTok and you're against it because it's just because it's TikTok, I would say this to you. I have never laughed like I've laughed at TikToks or the comments on TikTok. The comment section on TikTok is in and of itself its own community, and I feel like everyone is friends on there. The Instagram comments on Reels are horrifying. People are so angry and mean and cynical, but if you want just a good time, come on over to TikTok. It's a good time. The next question was, what was your biggest fear about pursuing photography? What do you think about that now? Great question. My biggest fear about pursuing photography was all of the unknown and the failing potential. I really don't like trying new things because I'm afraid of looking stupid. I'm afraid of doing it wrong. Trying new things is hard. Learning new things is hard. And also, I was completely changing my course. I was going from a PhD program in biology to trying to learn a completely new skill that had nothing to do with science, really. And that really scared me. So what helped was Justin, was very supportive. I had thought about it for a while. I was trying to figure out what to do next. And I had an opportunity to get this other job. It was still kind of in academia, but something just didn't feel right. I was listening to Nathan Chansky's podcast episode about how he got into photography, and I just felt this pull of like, I need to try. I need to just jump in and try all the way. And I came home from the outing I was at. I told Justin, hey, I think I just want to go all in and try this. And he was all for it. So he was really supportive. He taught me a lot of things, very patiently too, because I get frustrated really fast at not understanding and all of that. But he taught me a lot of the basics. I also learned a lot of basics from Instagram and YouTube and stuff, and then just by practicing a ton. So as I learned, it got less scary actually doing it. And we already had wedding experience because he was already making wedding videos and I was helping him. So weddings weren't really scary to me. It was doing it on my own and having to learn all of the skills. On top of just the photography, learning the business side of things, it's still a challenge because there's still so much I don't know and things I'm still trying to get better at and whatnot. So a lot of it was scary. Probably one of the scariest things was leaving the PhD program. I didn't leave the PhD program for photography. I ended up mastering out. I was just so burnt out. My goals were kind of changing. That's a whole story in and of itself. But I still had these goals and desires, but my willingness to go through what I was going through in the program, outside of the program, all for that outcome just wasn't as worth it at the time. So I mastered out. I'm really glad that I still got my master's degree. And then after that is when I was kind of like, okay, I can either stay in this job that I'm in right now, which I'm really good at, but I'm not getting paid very much and I'm getting kind of bored of, or I could completely switch. And that was just hard and scary because I love science and I love academia. But at the end of the day, I just had to try. And the whole time, and even still in the back of my mind, I still remind myself I could always go back to school if I want. And I still keep my foot in the door as, here and there with science and with teaching and stuff. But right now that I'm doing this really full time, this really is my focus. And I still sometimes struggle with having left academia right now. I love science so much and I miss it. But I realized it's not that I regret leaving it. It's just I kind of grieve that part of my life in certain ways. That sounds really dramatic. But when you're in grad school and just school your whole life and you're doing that one thing and you're pursuing that one thing and then all of a sudden you completely pivot, there is this sense of like not being a part of that community anymore, really missing the classes, missing the field work, missing learning from these people, learning with these people. So I still really love that part of my life and I miss it. But then I'm also like, man, that was really hard. So right now I'm just trying to be really thankful and content with where I'm at. So that's kind of what I think about it now, if that answers the question. The next question is, what intrigues you about dinosaurs? So for those who don't know, I was studying paleontology. My undergrad degree was biology, but partway through I added the paleontology emphasis, and then I went on to grad school to study dinosaurs and paleontology in general. I just love knowing things. I love knowing why things are the way that they are. I love knowing how things work. Part of what I loved about science was learning from other scientists and that community aspect. Going out into the field and learning from professors in the dirt was just so, so cool. So specifically dinosaurs, I love the aspect of trying to figure out what happened, why they're buried the way they are, why their bones are the way they are. That whole field of paleontology is called taphonomy, and I loved that. I do like, I'm not as much into like the morphology and taxonomy and classification of dinosaurs. Like some people love knowing the different dinosaurs and knowing what they looked like and how to differentiate them and all of the different things. But I really, when you kind of make things more real world, like also their ecology and their behavior, which is very much connected to taphonomy, because, you know, if you're looking at a burial site of dinosaur bones and there's a mixture of different bones, you can ask a lot of questions. If there's teeth mark on the bones, if there's the way they're oriented and the environment that they were buried in, like all of that goes back to a story, and I love that. The next submission just says ripped jeans / jean shorts, and I have no idea what you're talking about. Are you asking for my opinion on these things? Ripped jeans I'm cool with as long as they're not insanely ripped. When I was a lab supervisor at Masters, I had a student walk into chemistry lab with these jeans that were completely shredded. It wasn't like a hole here and there. It was shredded. And I looked at her and I said, turn around. You are not walking into this lab like that. That is completely against dress code in every sense of the word for a science lab. Girl, you are going to be holding acid in your hands. Why are you wearing something that's exposing your skin like this? Insanity. So yeah, if they're just like rips, I don't mind that. But if they're shredded, I think that's stupid. Jean shorts, I'm cool with. Maybe you're referring to my Costco jean shorts that I talked about a few weeks ago. Those ended up, so they were very comfortable, but they ended up just being the smallest bit too short, and not because of the like actual length, but because of how they, you know, when shorts are just short enough to like ride up constantly. I hate that. And that was happening a lot. Do you have any bad experiences with clients when taking photos? Ooh, that's a really good question. So overall, no. I've had bad experiences with family members at weddings. I've had awkward experiences with clients during photo shoots. I've had clients before where I just don't click as well with them. Maybe they're really shy and just, they don't really want to open up a little bit, and that's completely fine. I'll take your pictures and they're going to look amazing. But as far as bad experiences, it's never with the client, it's themselves. It's always with a family member. Usually it will be like an awkward moment with maybe the mother of a bride. This doesn't happen often, you guys, but this has happened where it's like a parent. I've had drunk dads be kind of awkward. It's never been to the point where I'm like, whoa, this is harassment. It's just, ooh, you're being a little weird. Usually the drunk people at weddings get really grateful. It's so cute, actually. Like, they'll get drunk, and I'm not condoning getting drunk. I just think if you're gonna be drunk, at least be a grateful, kind drunk, because people will get drunk and then they'll come up to us when we're leaving and be like, thank you so much, you were so amazing, and like gushing. And it's so funny and really kind, because I'm like, yeah, keep going, like talk me up. But clearly they're just really happy. I'm trying to think if there's been any bad experiences. Ooh, I had a couple tell me about a bad experience they had with another photographer, and this was not the photographer's, well, it wasn't about the photographer herself. It was a little mistake that she kind of initiated, where they left their stuff in one spot and moved around a corner to get another shot of something, and they came back and all their stuff was stolen. And that terrified me, because when I'm shooting, occasionally I will put down my bag, and as long as it's a few feet from me and I can still turn my back and see it, I'm okay with that. But putting down all of your stuff and leaving it out of sight is terrifying. So this poor couple and their photographer lost all their stuff, and they had to call like the police, and they had to track it down. And I think they were tracking the phone because it was on one of their phones, I think, I think one of their phones got stolen. So they were tracking the phone. Anyway, I think they got their stuff back, but that was awful. So now, especially after that, I'm like, if I have my backpack, I'm wearing my backpack most of the time while I'm shooting, which is really annoying, but I'm insistent on having my backup camera and lens with me just in case. I would hate to be in the middle of a shoot when the light is really good and something weird happen to my camera, something breaks, something doesn't function, and having to go back to the car. No. So I always have a backup with me on my body. But yeah, off the top of my head, I've not had a bad experience with a client on a photo shoot. I've had, this isn't bad, it's just not my preference when people bring extra people to a photo shoot without my knowledge and that person isn't just there to hang out and watch. When they like interject, that really is hard for me because I work in like a flow. My brain is going from one thing to the next and I'm trying to flow into different things. I'm trying to see different things and kind of move things along, especially if it's only an hour shoot. I just want to make sure we get as much as we can. I believe in really letting things be a little bit lived in, not perfect. So I've had times where somebody will bring someone to the shoot, like their mom or something. And if that person's interjecting and trying to fix things during the shoot, that's just hard because it kind of interrupts my flow of thought and my creativity. But that's not bad. You know what I'm saying? This next question is similar. What's the most awkward or embarrassing encounter you've had at a wedding? One time I asked a bride if she was wanting a picture of her dress being zipped or buttoned up. And I said, sometimes mom does it, or who do you want to do it? And I found out that her mom had passed, and I had only mentioned as a suggestion, like sometimes mom does it, and I didn't know. So ever since then, I always ask, are there family circumstances I should know about? Because I never want to like mention somebody that kind of rubs in a grief to somebody on their wedding day. That's horrible. So that was awkward. I felt really bad about that. I couldn't have known, like, if they didn't tell you and I didn't ask, and I didn't really know to ask at the time, like, oh well. She took it really well. She wasn't rude or upset or anything. I just felt really bad. What else is embarrassing or awkward? If a mom, I keep saying moms because it just usually is the mom. I've had times where a mother of the bride might interject and tell me what shots to be getting, and that is awkward because then I have to figure out, how do I instill confidence in her that I'm going to take care of them, that I know what I'm doing, that you can trust me to get these shots? Because in my mind, I want to be like, hey, I know what I'm doing. But in the moment, I want to be really kind. And so I usually am just like, oh, yeah, totally, I'll get that. Or, oh, I actually already did. And yeah, I just try to be really nice about it. I do have a story of a grandpa at a wedding who was behaving really strangely. But I think I'm going to save that. I have told it on my Instagram stories before. It was awkward, but it was more just like the audacity was crazy. But I'm going to save that one. What's been the biggest adjustment to mountain life? Great question. Probably the biggest adjustment is just being further from things. We're not super remote and we have a town that we live in and there's all the essentials in town, but they are more expensive. So it's just different from where I used to live when I could just be like, oh, I'm going to go hop over to Target or I'm going to go run errands and just kind of like go around town. Whereas now it becomes a whole day. Like if I'm going to go down the hill, that's a good 20 minutes of just getting down the hill, and then getting to wherever I'm going is usually like 15 more minutes. So it's really not that bad. I tell people I just try to dissociate down the hill and it doesn't count. The hill doesn't count. If you have a podcast on, it doesn't count. But yeah, that's the biggest adjustment is just driving time. Now, overall, I'm actually closer to wedding venues. I'm closer to a lot of shoot locations, like for weddings, Temecula, Orange County, different things, because we're further south than we were. So driving time for work has not really changed. In fact, it's gotten less, which is a huge blessing. But day to day, I don't go out as much and I don't see people as much. So that's definitely an adjustment. Now I just have to plan more for it. And I knew that going into this. I knew that before we even were looking to buy a house here, we had talked a lot about how we're going to be a little bit more remote and I'm going to have to be able to prioritize going down, seeing people, doing my errands and stuff like that. So it's fine. It's not my favorite, but I do really like where we live. So it's a balance. If you could pick one couple you know to have raised you, who would it be? Interesting question. Well, Bethany and Scott the other day were doing hot dogs over the fireplace and watching, I think it was the Dodgers game, and having a cozy time with the kids. And I responded to Bethany and I was like, I want to be a child in this household. Ooh, Jaina and Billy would be really fun parents. I just opened Instagram and they were the first people that popped up. Jaina is so cute and giggly and fun and joyful. And I don't know Billy as well, but he's also so cool and kind. And they do these cute things together and adventures. And Billy plays like vintage baseball. And I think that they would be really fun people to raise children. So maybe I would be Jaina and Billy's child. Sam would also be a really fun mom. I think I would like Sam to be my mom as well. So yeah, that's my answer. All right. Well, those were my submissions for the day. Tonight, I'm going to get dinner with Valerie, which is going to be lovely. I'm going to get this salad that I always get at the place we're going. It's delicious. So I'm going to get a salad. We're going to chat. It's going to be a great time. This week, I forgot to mention, I also restarted Gilmore Girls. I don't do the yearly rewatch thing like a lot of people are doing, but in December, right around Christmas time, I got pretty sick, like I had the flu or something, COVID maybe, and I started watching Gilmore Girls again from season 3 because I had never watched season 4 on. Bethany and I grew up rewatching seasons 1, 2, and 3 on DVD constantly, especially in the summertime. We would just binge those. But once Rory goes to college, we weren't allowed to watch anymore when it was airing because we were children, and it gets a little bit more mature and whatnot. So as an adult, I restarted season 4 a few years ago, and it just wasn't in a place where I was interested. So when I got sick in December and couldn't do things, I laid in bed and I watched Gilmore Girls, and I finished the series. I have not watched A Year in the Life yet. I do not have Netflix. I know the ending because when it came out, I fast forwarded it to the last 5 minutes or whatever. So I do know the ending. Sorry if that bugs you. But it's been out for so many years, I don't think it matters. Anyway, I'm going to continue that. I'm still in season 1. I started it last week, and I'm just kind of watching while I'm doing stuff, editing pictures, cooking dinner and stuff. It's usually just on my phone. So I'm going to continue that. I need to figure out what to cook for dinner. Oh, wait. I'm getting dinner out. I don't need to cook dinner. Sorry to Justin. He can eat something. Thanks for following, and I will see you guys later.